This is John for the Everyday Fan Sports. Today I have the pleasure of being back on the beat. John Bullard, Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. Man, it's good to see you. How are you, sir?
It's good to see you as well, my friend. And every time I get to talk to you is always a treasure and a treat for me. So I'm glad we could do this again.
It's a lot of fun, and it's going to be more fun coming up October 9th.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a huge show coming up October 9th on a Sunday. They're in Michigan City, Indiana. So it's a stacked card full of not only great regional talent, but got some international talent coming in too.
Tell us about it. Who you got?
Well, we have Yuya Uemura from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's on his learning excursion here in the United States, and he asked us to give him an opportunity to come in and show the world what he can do. And this guy is, in my opinion, he's their future ace of New Japan. He's a future big star. Like when you see him, you instantly can tell like that guy's going to be, the Tokyo Dome sellout crowd main eventer guy very soon. He gives me a young Fujinami Tony Onoki vibe. The way he carries himself, like it's presence. When you meet him, there is a certain aura to him. He's a very humble kid, but he has that aura to him. Like you're like, yep, we're seeing something that in a few years from now we're gonna go. Remember when we saw him when he was real young? Look at him now where he's at. He's got that. He's got that it factor.
Well,
We have him.
Cool.
We have him. We have a fun high flyer coming from the Dragon Gate wrestling promotion in Japan, named La Australia, a young Japanese talent that's phenomenal. If you like the flips and the unique arm drags and moves, this guy's like a human highlight reel. And then we have from Middle Kingdom Wrestling in China, Zunny Shai, better known as Sunny Z. He'll be coming in to wrestle the mercenary Garrison Creed.
Oh, it's another big match. Jeez.
Absolutely.
The card is stacked.
With Yua, he's wrestling Paragon. And then La Australia is taking on a young luchador by the name of Manny Cortez. Manny Cortez reminds me a lot of 1994 Rey Mysterio Jr.
Ooh.
So it's the fans are those three matches alone, and that's not even half the card. But those three matches alone is worth the price of admission.
Well, yeah. Now, what kind of challenges? I know because of the pandemic, all sorts of bad issues in the world. What kind of challenges was it you to keep things going? I know you didn't run shows, but you still kept things going during that time.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. A lot of companies, excuse me, a lot of companies, and during that time period did fall. There were a lot of companies that did, not just professional wrestling, but business. A lot of business corporations were collapsing. It wasn't easy, John, for us to produce content, constantly trying to work with different endorsements, sponsors, business partners, forming business relationships with other companies. And during that downtime, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, we could either set back and do nothing and be forgotten about, or we could take this time to rebuild, refocus, and put together something when we do make our return show. It's huge, and it's something that everyone will want to be part of or want to buy a ticket. And so far, is looking pretty good.
And you've got some returning guys too. I know you got some local guys. Like you said, Garrison. Who else do you have?
Oh, we got Shogun, Chris Logan, our champion. Of course, we have Youth Gone Wild. Those guys are a mainstay in the Chicagoland wrestling scene. Marche All Day Rocket, NWA star, who's also a big part of our roster. He'll be wrestling Braven Fett, who's a hometown hero here in Michigan City. We got Jackson P. Larkin wrestling Ewok for the Wrestle League title. So it's a lot of great talent coming in, a lot of talent making their debut. It's one of those shows where it's a mix of everything. It's like you got your favorites from the first two shows, but here's some new guys coming in too. And, I've always had a philosophy. It's always great to develop a core roster of talent, but it's also good to bring in fresh talent that people haven't seen, especially in this area where so many guys, and I'm not trying to be knocking on other promoters, but a lot of promoters like to use the same guys in a 30-mile radius. When I started Chicagoland, I wanted to do everything total opposite of what everybody else in Northwest Indiana, Chicago area was doing. I want to use guys from Michigan, Wisconsin, the Illinois area, but also people from out of state and also out of country. So it gives our fans something fresh, something that they've never seen before. And also booking some of those guys, it gives first time matchups. This has never been seen before too. So those are always exciting in itself. It's like a dream match.
Oh, sure.
How many people said, well, what if this guy wrestled this guy? Well, we never seen it because this promotion he works for don't like this promotion. Well, here I am out here in the middle of my own little area. I don't worry about the other two companies think. I'm like, you know what? I'll book both of you where I'm at. So let's do this, and it works.
Well, let's reset a little bit. Who holds and what titles do you have currently?
Currently, right now, Chris Logan is our grand champion. Johnny Nye has actually won the television title, so he is our TV champion. Ewok is the UHC and Wrestle League champion. Wrestle League being our brother promotion. That's been fostering a lot of the young talent that are making their debut on this October show. So that's our champion so far. We are also currently working on crowning ourselves our first tag team champions.
And what is the wrestling scene like in Michigan City, Indiana? I mean, I know what it's like in the Chicago area. You guys aren't that far away, but what is the basic scene there?
We are the same. we're the only promotion in this area for this town, which I kind of like that. It's like, this is our own little territory in a way.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But Northwest Indiana, there's a lot of promotions. Of course, there's of course the granddaddy of all Northwest Indiana wrestling promotions, ARW. They've been around for I think almost 15, 20 years, just about. And then of course you've had C3 Wrestling. Chris Classic and his wife runs that company out of Hammond, Indiana area. They do fantastic work. They do a lot of charitable work too for the kids. So you do have a lot of great promotions in the little 4 or 5 towns around me. Of course, there's Black Label Pro. They do a lot of shows in Crown Point, Indiana. So there's a couple of promotions out here, but for Michigan City, we're the only promotion.
Well, I was going to say, and you guys, I follow you, obviously. You guys have worked with other companies, and not in the we're coming in to take over storyline type thing. You guys have had nice partnerships with companies. That's a little bit unusual, but I should expect that from you.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is this: it's I could be someone's competition, but I'd rather be the alternative. I'm not here to buy out anybody. I'm not here to run another person's town or run the company out of the town. I've seen so much of that over the years. I got my town, and I have another town we're about to launch coming up in 2023. And, we formed up our partnerships because at this show alone, we have C3, their Ultimate Championship belt will be defended on our show with Miles Mercer versus Shaq Jordan. Wrestle League, which is our brother company that, like I said, developing the young talent to come in to work for us. Their champion, the Ewok, is defending that belt and the UHC title at the same time against Jackson Larkin. He doesn't want to be known as Jackson P. Larkin anymore. It's Jackson Stampede Larkin. I have to remind myself that because he always yells at me if I get his name wrong. Whew. Then we have our friends at Heartland Championship Wrestling in Mishawaka, Indiana. Their champion, Chip Walker, will be defending the HCW Heavyweight Championship belt against a young up-and-comer from Wrestle League named Russell TD. So we have those belts along with our grand championship match with Chris Logan versus Eric Dillinger, which is going to be a fantastic match. And then you got all these international belts. So it's like, for the price of admission alone, they're getting to see a super show and all this great young talent that's making a name for themselves.
Now, I know you appreciate the history of wrestling, but as you're talking to me about this, it sounds almost like the old territory days where there is some exchange of talent. Again, it's not we're coming in to take over, but it's utilizing each other's talents in interesting ways.
The old school NWA mentality.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, is that the plan going forward?
Well, that's something I've been working on. And, to give you a little backstory about myself, I grew up in the South. So the NWA was our wrestling when I was a kid. That was what I grew up on, the Crockett's and how they work with other promoters and over the years breaking into the wrestling business, I worked for a lot of NWA promotions. So I got to work with those promoters, and I got to see how those promoters would do the Night of Champions or the Champions Carnival, or whatever they want to call their shows, where all these NWA title champions would come in and defend the belts. And I've always loved that because it's like, you know what, they're working together. They're not going against each other. They're making this one uniform company that looks great with great talent. And I don't know if I'm forming an NWA. I wouldn't say that. But what I'm doing is I'm taking all the promotions that I've worked with and giving them an opportunity to use my platform to help them out, which in return they're advertising our product to their fans too and saying, hey, come out see Chicagoland, come out see what the guys they're doing and Wrestle League and C3 and HCW. And of course, we got our partners in Mexico, and we're working with Dragon Gate in Japan, and the match with La Australia versus Manny Cortez is being recorded for Dragon Gate Network. So the fans in Japan get to see us here in this part of the Midwest and get to see, hey, this is what they're doing over there, and this is really cool, and it helps our guys get seen by the Japanese. So it's even more worldwide for us.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. Where do you see, or what are your plans, at least that you could reveal, for Chicagoland Championship Wrestling in the, going in the relative near future year or so?
Well, with next year, we're planning to do more shows coming up. Looks like COVID is starting to die down. Hopefully, pretty soon it'll be something of the past. But we're planning to open up a show location in Illinois. So be away from a little bit around the city of Chicago, but not too far of a drive for Chicago fans to come out and see. Be a lot closer for a lot of them. But we still use the Michigan City show. It's kind of like our studio show, building up to our big show in Illinois, and probably a larger show here in Michigan City too. I love the VFW folks. They're the American Legion, I should say, not the VFW, the American Legion Hall. They've been great to us. But our fan base is growing so much to the point where it's like now we kind of have to get a larger venue because you can only do so many wall-to-wall standing room only crowds, and so you have to find a place that can hold them. So that's the new territory we're going into in Illinois. I think once the fans see what we got, I think they're going to be really happy. There's plenty of seating. There's bleachers, but there's also chair seating, and the building's AC. And it's really nice. So it's a win-win for us. It's a win-win for fans. And we'll still be working with the folks at the Legion here in Michigan City to still use their facility as well for studio tapings outside of our big home shows. So
Sure.
Yeah, we've been putting in the work for that. I know with the Dragon Gate guys, they're planning to send more of their young boys, as they call them, their rookie talent, to get a learning experience in America. And we've become one of the destinations where they feel that their talent's safe to work with us. And, we're always going to provide them a place to stay and opportunities to work really good American talent.
And what about, do you have any plans to bring in any women or women's titles?
Yeah, we're actually currently working on booking future female talents, give a showcase to women's wrestling. I've always been a big supporter of women's wrestling. There's always this old adage in wrestling, it's hard to find good women wrestlers. But one thing I will definitely say now with the new evolution of women's wrestling, there are so many talented women out there wrestling today. There's almost no excuse why you can't have a good women's match on your show. To the point, actually, I don't even try to consider women's wrestling. It's wrestlers that happen to be females. Just because some of those girls are better wrestlers than guys.
Well, that's another point too.
Sky Blue's phenomenal.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the women are wrestling, like Billy Starks is wrestling a lot of guys all the time. Yeah. And it's credible. It's not that, you don't have to suspend belief. She's a credible wrestler against anybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Her Sky Blue has been a prime example of a female that can wrestle a guy. There's a young woman out in the Michigan area named Davison that has a really interesting look, and her wrestling style is very MMA-like. so she's very physical. I think, in my opinion, I think she could probably beat up half the guys, not only in wrestling, but probably half the guys in the crowd. So, like, she's someone I wouldn't want to cross in the back alley. I'd be like, yeah, we're friends. Let's just keep it that way. And oh, I have bad terms.
Keeping
Yeah,
peace is always better.
yeah, there's so many talented female wrestlers out there that they deserve the spotlight with all the hard work, the traveling, doing what they're doing.
Well, let's switch gears just for a minute before we wrap up. You have an interesting YouTube channel. You do some really interesting music.
Well, yeah. So if anybody wants to check out my channel, John Lee Bullard on YouTube. Of course, I play banjo, but I also play blues guitar and other things too. I've been kind of slacking for the last few months on that channel. I need to get back into the recordings. I was doing so much recording almost on a weekly basis. With my new job that I'm doing now, I'm working in the medical field. So it gives me a little bit more opportunity to actually do the wrestling projects, but also go back to playing my music again now too. So
Yeah, I mean, I love checking those out. Who are some of your musical influences?
oh gosh. So musical wise, I learned from a lot of Eastern Kentucky musicians. Lee Sexton was one of them. He was a National Endowment of the Arts Fellowship Award winner. He was a personal mentor of mine.
Wow.
Clyde Davenport, who was another National Endowment of the Arts winner. Jack Bunch, who just passed away sadly last year. He was the last of the Laurel County fiddlers that I learned from. James Clayton, who was my mentor in playing blues. So I've had some really good musical mentors. Some that may not seem national known until you check out their music, and then it's like, wow, this is just amazing. All those guys were absolutely phenomenal. George is still alive, thank God. But Lee, Jack, and Clyde is sadly no longer with us. But I have nothing but fond memory. Every time I get the chance to sit out and play a tune of theirs, it's bringing back their memories and keeping them alive.
Well, you do some great work. I love music. Obviously, everyone loves music. But when I first saw it, I was surprised because I didn't know that side of you, and I was really impressed. You could lay down some nice tunes, man. It's fun listening or seeing it.
Oh yeah, and I plan hopefully pretty soon to. I've been trying to have this idea of working on an album, so hopefully when I get that recorded, I'll be glad to send you a copy.
That'd be cool. And certainly when that comes out, if and when that comes out, we'd love to talk to you about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'd love to do it.
Well, before I let you go, tell everybody where they can find out information. Give out whatever information you want about the upcoming show. I'm excited. It's been too long, but there's reasons for that. But it's back.
Yes, go to ChicagolandChampionshipWrestling.com. You go to our event section tab, and all the information is laid out there for us. You can check us out on Facebook. Just type in Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. On Instagram, I got to pop up my phone here just to make sure I get it correct. Instagram has always been the trickiest one on me. I don't know why, but let's see here. They can go to CC Wrestling Entertainment, all one word. That is our Instagram page. And that has a lot of photos, a lot of videos, and things that are keeping people up to date. Our main account, though, is Facebook. When we make any of our big announcements or posting. Just today, we actually made the announcement that we are actually selling Liquid Death mountain water.
Saw that.
I don't know if you ever tried Liquid Death, but it is amazing. What I love about it is it's in metal cans, so when it's ice cold, it's cold. And on top of it, you don't have that plastic taste. And it's also helping out the environment too.
And people should check out your music page too.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out John Lee Bullard on YouTube. And like I said, I hope they enjoy the music. And, it's been a wild ride, John. I tell you, when I left wrestling originally in 2018, well, what I should say, I left it in 2014, came back 2018. I didn't think that, for one, I was just coming back just to be a wrestler. But when everything fell into my lap, it's like, yeah, wrestling's great, but you're meant to be the promoter again, because I was promoter back in 2012. And I just, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And so far it's been a pretty amazing ride. There's been some bumps in the road with COVID and a few things that we had to cancel, but we're back. And
Well, the
I'm
key is how you
excited.
handle, the key is how you handle the bumps, and you've handled them well. You've kept everybody informed along the way. You've had interesting things going on along the way,
Yeah.
as best you could in these strange times. Now the show's back, and it seems to be back better than ever and ready to go. What I would tell everybody is check out your music, put that on, hook that up with your ride over there, so you can listen to your music on the way to the show. Show starts at, or doors open at 1. The show starts at 2, so it's a
Yeah.
lovely afternoon show. It's a perfect way to spend a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. And you get home on time. You get to drink some really good beverages. We got a lot of stadium quality food being made that's sold at a very fair price. It doesn't break anyone's budget. Our tickets are probably the cheapest in all of Chicago area, to the point I've actually had people tell me I'm criminally cutting myself on what we're doing. But $10 for a general admission ticket, $30 for a family 4. There's other people now trying. There's people literally, John has took my formula, and now they're charging double on what they're doing, and they don't even give people half the show that we're giving the fans.
And I have to mention too, you're a humble man, but I will say this: everybody that you send out personal notes to people, and that's unheard of in pretty much any industry, let alone the wrestling industry. And I know people have gotten those notes, and I've seen it online, and that type of stuff goes a long way. And you're doing
Absolutely.
everything. You're doing everything right, and I can't encourage people more to come out and see the show. It's going to be a fantastic show. And with that, I thank you, John. I'd love to talk to you after it, see how it all went, see what's next in line.
Yeah, I look forward to it, John.
All right, everybody, check it out. Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, October 9th, 1 p.m. Doors open, 2 p.m. show starts. The return, it's got fantastic wrestlers. Go out and see this. John, thank you for your time, man.
Thank you, my friend. It's always an honor to talk to you, and deeply appreciated. Thank you.
Likewise, my friend.